My father didn't really think anything of it because it was his job. It was just much more visceral, dealing with actual live human beings naked in the office. Basically, my uncle was kind of let off the hook for the murder. And it was kind of coming out of the free love era, and people were really digging that they were expressing themselves in a new way. And I always felt like I missed my chance for revenge at the trial. I want to create a piece that's going to evoke, some remorse from my uncle.
He's a big goofball.
Big complexity.
Oh my God!
How are you doing? How's the show going?
It's going really well.
Yes, I grew up with parents in the sex industry and the O'Farrell Theater, where there were live dancers, movies being made, but no one ever talked to me about sex. I never got the birds and the bees talk, and which is rather ironic considering it was everywhere around me, but it wasn't put into any extra context, whereas you might think so. So I was pretty much left like, a lot of kids growing up, their parents just don't have that talk and had to figure it out through Judy Blume books, basically. People in the porn industry quickly get over it. It's just like doctors, it's not,
Yes.
You see one body, you've seen them all after a while. And my dad, he used to have a great quote, and we'd ask him about it. He'd say, most people look better with their clothes on than off. It's like the mystery and the excitement and the titillation, I think, really goes away rather fast when you're in that world.
From your perspective, was there anything different as far as when your parents got into the film industry that was that sort of changed porn as well? Or your view?
Well, they were in film first.
Oh, they were in film first.
Yes,
okay.
Film came first in their success with Behind the Green Door. So the O'Farrell Theater was established so they could screen their own movies and get the direct profit instead of making films and selling them to the other X-rated houses. And so things changed in the mid-'70s, and that's when the O'Farrell went live. And personally, as an impact, I felt a much more negative impact once it went live because it was just much more visceral, dealing with actual live human beings naked in the office. At the same time, I was much younger when they were burgeoning in their film career, so while that was some early exposure when I'd go to the office, I was still a bit more removed because I was that much younger. So it's hard for me to say exactly, but things definitely went more extreme once they went live.
And sometimes there's, naked women or naked men, and it's art, right?
Mm-hmm,
I mean,
sure.
Greek sculptures, Roman sculptures,
yeah.
a lot of that. And people say, I don't know the definition of porn, but I know when I see it.
Right.
What's your definition of porn, or how do you separate that, having been so close to it, and at the same time there's a lot of great works that have naked?
Well, it's like, how do you assess what is art, right?
Yes.
I mean, what I consider art, someone might think is just boring, and it's obviously, yes, porn, if you compare a Greek sculpture, but who's to say like that wasn't in its day considered so radical. I mean, we just don't know because we weren't living there. I mean, we go back, we chart a history of pornography in my show because it goes back to cave drawings. There's cave drawings of pornographic acts.
It's the oldest industry.
So
right?
it's beyond even an industry. It's just human nature.
Yes.
Humans like to have sex. They like to get turned on, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
And it's just, personally, trying to define what is pornography, what isn't. I mean, I don't really care because I'm really not stimulated by it. It's like shoemakers' children go barefoot. It's, I just don't care for pornography. Of course, I know plenty of people who do. A lot of film these days are really getting close, actors in mainstream films are starting to show full frontal now and then, or it's just, it's all erotic. Some of it's high art, some of it's low art,
Yes.
I mean, so you can compare, a beautifully made film by Milos Forman or someone that's highly erotic with, something that's pumped out at Vivid Video with the porn star of the week. But who's to say? Different people are going to appreciate things on different levels. So as long as everybody is consensual and healthy and no one's being hurt or coerced, then, have at it, I say.
What did you want to communicate through this play?
Well, I've had different intentions at different times. When I first started writing this play, I was 25 years old. I'd gone back to college in Seattle. It was a few years after my father's death. And I started writing about my experience at my uncle's murder trial. As an exploration, I was becoming a playwright, so I needed to have some good content to write about.
Yes.
But it was a real catharsis because I harbored such tremendous guilt for my rather neutral, tepid testimony, and I always felt like I missed my chance for revenge at the trial.
You only went to jail for 3 years,
yes,
right?
Yes. So there's a lot of things around it that were just so unfair. And this predated OJ by a few years, which, had it been the other way around, it certainly would have informed, I would have known a lot more about handling a situation like this. But of course, I was 20, 21 years old. There was a Showtime piece made by the Estevez brothers on the Mitchell brothers. So that kind of stole my thunder at that point. That was around 2000. And then I shifted gears, and I still continued to write, and when I'd have different observations come up about the story and coming to terms with things. But I became a mother and, focused on that track. But then becoming a parent really started to inform the piece for me again in a different way because, you look at your parents differently once you're a parent yourself. A little bit more compassion of going, geez, my dad was 24 when I was born, and like 26, 27, we became a multi-millionaire, world famous with Behind the Green Door. Like, how would I have handled that? It's a lot. I'd had this vision for so long about how I could bring this piece that, wouldn't just be a tell-all, scandalous, salacious, like, oh, my family was so weird and horrible and poor me. It's like, I'm just not interested in sharing that kind of energy. Instead, I was more interested in sharing the story of, this is a story of survival, and compassion, forgiveness, humor, and really it's just, what I'm really gratified is people are taking away from this is it's not just the story of growing up with the Mitchell brothers. Like, people can relate. Like, everybody has a family.
Yes.
Most people's families are screwed up one way or another. Or you're trying to hide under that guise of, I want to be normal. And, that's, I explore a lot of, I was always just striving so hard to be normal. I just thought that was the key. Whatever that was, I didn't even really know, but I just knew that I didn't have that in my family. I know that my dad would be delighted that I'm doing this piece and that I've arrived where I am as a person. And, I'm hopeful that this just kind of helps round out his legacy as someone who, made a big impact in the film industry at the end of the 20th century and in San Francisco.
What are some of the memories?
Oh. You got to do your breathing.
Oh,
it's this heady subject matter. You're up here, you're not down
I
here.
know. Right? Okay.
Action!
Should we kiss?
Okay.
Deep
fine.
thoughts with Jack Handy.
There's a lot of things that look good on Jennifer Lopez that don't look good on me.
Liberty and Lonnie, do the mission.
Okay.
Beauty out of the rubble. It's like a metaphor for my show.
They're less
Clint,
important
it's
person.
just-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.